Hi, Jonathan here, the creator of Agreement and the founder of Icy Hope. I'm at the Gulf Coast in Mississippi, and I'm going to ask the experts about the oil spill. How will the oil spill affect people's lives here in the Gulf?
Well, one of the particular effects that's going to happen if the oil comes in a substantial amount, and it's not at all certain that it will, but if it does, it's going to have effects on a couple of economically important species. The oyster that a lot of people harvest and sell for to restaurants and stuff, and some of the shrimp that live out in the Mississippi Sound, they're going to be impacted if it comes in. If enough oil comes in, they're going to kill them. The shrimp will be killed, and if not, the shrimp and oysters will bioaccumulate some of the toxins. So there will be a certain amount of the contaminant that will be present in the tissue of the organisms, even if they're not dead, that will make it unavailable for them to eat. And there's also the public relations question. People aren't going to want to eat fish, shrimp, oysters that were collected from a contaminated area. Even if there isn't a significant amount of contamination, they're likely to see effects from people simply not wanting to buy the products that they're selling.
How will it affect the wildlife of the oil spill?
Well, it's going to have a significant impact on a lot of the wildlife. Again, in the event of a large-scale incursion into this area. A lot of the organisms are what we call benthic. That means they live on the bottom, on the sediment, and this oil that's coming in is going to be very sticky. It's going to stick to the sediment very quickly, and these things are going to be eating it, be covered in it. Their food sources are going to be ingesting it and be covered in it, so the bacteria populations might be affected, and they're the bottom of the food chain. The small crustaceans live on the bottom that eat that, the smaller fish that eat those, and the larger fish that eat the smaller fish, all are going to be sequentially affected because this oil is going to stick on the bottom of the sediment longer than it will anyplace else.
How can we clean up the oil if it comes?
Well, if it comes, how you clean it up will depend on where it goes. We've got two types of beaches around here. We've got sandy beaches and we've got marshy beaches. If it comes onto the sandy beaches, it's an unpleasant process, but it's relatively straightforward. You scoop the sand and sand and oil mixture up. You'll physically clean it up, you physically remove it, and then they'll no doubt replenish it with clean sand from somewhere else. If it's in the marshes and the muddy areas on what we call the Spartina grass, then it's a lot more problematic. We're going to have to, honestly, I don't know how they're going to do that. It's going to be difficult, however they do it. There's some evidence that they'll try to use some of the gene-engineered microbes that will digest the oil, but those haven't been particularly effective in the past.
I talked to the scientists and experts, and I learned a lot about the oil spill. They all seem a little worried, but they hope for the best.